Lascian Corla. Ministers, it's time to improve access to public transport for people with disabilities and invest in transport infrastructure that considers and supports accessibility, mobility and inclusion for people with disability. It's time we focused on their ability rather than the disability and made it possible. It's disappointing that the progress in these areas have been so slow. But at least the government have recognised the need for change by having a working group examine the issues. But working groups are of no use unless their findings are supported by action, which makes the situation better for those in need. For information contained in a variety of reports, it seems, it seems that the current method for administering support to people with disabilities is outdated and needs to be redesigned to make adequate support available. The area of transport is a vital aspect for the quality of life, reasons where people with disabilities need to be supported when it comes to private methods of transport. And our motion calls on the government to do a number of things, and I don't have time to go into them in detail, but I want to highlight the second one, which we call on the government to introduce a new integrated transport scheme for people with disabilities and their carers that ensures flexible arrangements that meet the needs of the individual and are in compliance with the Equal Status Acts. I believe that the key word here is flexible. Too often when dealing with state supports, there is an inflexibility in the system and processes. Inflexible systems often end up with important needs not being met. When constituents contact me, it is first-hand cases where their needs are not being met due to bureaucracy or systems which people can find very difficult and stressful to deal with. A flexible system will look at the specific needs of each individual. As we know, there is a wide variety of disabilities that are different, with different degrees to which they affect people's lives, and therefore the government schemes supporting those people should be designed so as to place the individual and their specific needs at the centre of the decision-making process. We are moving into the summer season and the beach-going season, and I would like to draw attention to the beach accessibility schemes for people who need a wheelchair. It is great that there is such scheme in place, and in fact there are 7 in County Wexford, but it's not enough. It's just a start, and I'm sure that there are people in County Wexford where there are far more beaches than 7, I would say, who would like to avail of that scheme. The Wexford County Council website shows that the period of availability is only from the 1st of June till the end of August. That leaves 9 months of the year where I can walk on a beach every day, but someone in a wheelchair is unable to access or use the same beach. Now, I note the contents of the Transport Working Group report published in December 22 as part of the National Disability Inclusion Strategy, and I hope that the issues raised in it will lead to a situation in Ireland where every person with a disability will be able to access all modes of public transport without having to worry if they're going to be able to get on it. I also hope that it will lead to a situation where every person with a disability is supported in having their own methods of private transport without the cost of adaptations or specialised equipment proving to be a stumbling block for them. And I hope that the government can prioritise actions in this area and leave a legacy of support and inclusion for people with disabilities. And unfortunately, Minister, I have to bring to your attention today that the funding that you, and I have no doubt this is not your fault, but the funding for Windmill Therapeutic that you sanctioned, much needed, over 200,000. The funding for Cummins and New Ross, particularly for transport, much needed 140,000 funding. Not yet received. And the headline today, St Aidan's in Gorey, a respite centre closing because they haven't got the staff. And we know why they haven't got the staff, because the funding that's required to increase their salaries to prevent them being poached from none other than the HSE itself, leaving Section 39s desolate. And let me tell you, Minister, on Easter weekend, I had a situation where a young boy was taken into full-time residential care at a cost to this state of €33,000 a month for the want of respite. And here we are, I mentioned 3 projects in Wexford, Section 39's catering for hundreds of people in need of respite and in need of day services, and putting that cost jeopardy on the state, never mind the fact that the people who expect the service cannot rely on it. I'd ask you to address it, Minister. Thank you.